Okay, so I'm going to be breaking down to you guys how I passed the CKA exam in just about 2 months. Some people obviously have passed it faster, some people have passed it slower, but I came into this with little to no knowledge about Kubernetes. Um, a little disclaimer that I will put out there is I did study the KCNA before this. It took me about a month. It's not really that hard of an exam. I can make a little guide YouTube video for it, but ultimately I'll link below my GitHub, which has some of my notes, some of the do's and do nots that I've taken. Of course, there is no actual exam advice over the exam that I've taken, but there is general advice that I've compiled or I've used. Um, so we're just going to go through this exam objectives really fast. Um, a little background about the exam. It will be between 16, 17, 18 questions. You'll have to do it within 2 hours. Um, so if you do the math, you need to be below 7 minutes and 30 seconds per environment. Per environment. So if we go through this real fast, um, if we go through this real fast, the you need to learn how to do storage, troubleshooting, workloads and scheduling, cluster architecture, installation and configuration, servicing and networking. Now, it might seem like a lot, but really if you break things down, it is not that hard. It's not that hard. So, we need to just go through what I did. So, this is exactly what I did. Um I went through I went I made a guide on my GitHub about kind of what I did and like the do's and do nots, so to speak. So I'm gonna just go through this really fast. Um, the first thing, the most important thing, the most the most important thing throughout all of this is simply Reddit. Reddit. I had a semi-viral post on X about this, but Reddit is truly the best source of open knowledge when it comes to technical certifications because a lot of people will tell you'll get to see what a lot of people have done in the past, which helps you out a lot. It helps you not feel alone in the process. You can ask questions, people will answer. So yeah, so Reddit is the biggest factor. Please use it. Please use it. Now for the CKA exam, there is a Reddit there is a Reddit page for it, a subreddit for it. Now they have questions, they have what I did to pass it. These types of things are things that you want to look through because it will help you with the actual exam. I say this from experience. Please do not act like you are too knowledgeable to use sources like this. Um, you know, they're the sources that you need. So going back to this, going back to this, Killer Coda is. Let me back up. What I use as first thing I did is went to Code Cloud. You go to Code Cloud and you go straight to the CKA exam. Like I said, I did the KCNA before this, but you go through the CKA course. I went through all the videos. I did all the labs, but I did not do the mock exams. Me personally, I feel like I had enough knowledge. I took my time with it, but the mock exams, in my experience, they're helpful, but they're not really needed because you can have actual help with you can have actual practice exam environments. So it's not like it's a mandatory thing. Um, but right after that, right after I finished the Cold Cloud course, I went onto Reddit and I saw what people were doing. How do you pass the exam? And everybody recommended this GitHub repository right here. This GitHub repository. This is what you need to pass. This is what you need to pass because it will give you similar environments to the exam, somewhat similar questions, but you really need to know why and how to do things and get your muscle memory intact. Get your muscle memory intact because that is the most important thing. I'm not going to go through any specific problems right now, but um, I'll just go to this one real fast. So, for instance, they have the questions, the tasks, and you have the lab set up. And with the lab set up, you will go into Killer Coda. You don't have to pay. You can. It's free, but you can pay for it to get an exam desktop that is exactly like the exam. Um, they always had the same environment, same version as the exam. So this is good to get yourself familiar. Um, when you sign up, I do recommend you at least do the killer.sh mock exam, you don't have to take it completely, but just go through it. Just, try to figure out the one or two problems. Um, if you have trouble, no big deal. It's harder than the exam. But the most important thing is that you end both. You get two mock exams, so you end them both, and you can look over the answers, how to solve it. Um, yeah, but with this exam, with this repository that it's in my, I'm gonna link this in there so you can actually go through it. With this, you go to lab setup, you go to bash, you copy this, and you go into killer coda, and you just command shift v, you paste it, and it'll create a sort of environment for you to solve these problems. You need to know why you're doing it. You need to know how you're doing it. And this person actually has like YouTube videos that go along with the questions. So he explains pretty well what you have to do. Um, I have those linked in this GitHub repository as well. But you really want to just go through this. Like I said, if you get 16 problems, 17 problems, you need to be below 7 minutes and 30 seconds per problem. There are problems that will take you longer, right? So you want to be as fast as possible with the most questions, fast and accurate. That's what you want to do. Um, another thing, another real tip is that instead of typing cubectl, you just type k. Learn the short ends of the short learn the short terms for each of these things, like deployments, deploy, um, uh, persistent volume, PV, persistent volume claim, PVC. These are all things that you can just type K explain, and then it's API resources. I'm typing this with one hand. That's why it looks so weird. Okay. Or is it just explain? Explain. Okay. Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. K explain, API resources, and you'll get the short the shorthand of each term, and you need to be fast with it. Also, in the exam, you could just press tab if you want to auto complete some things. I do recommend copying and pasting so you don't miss any points with any mistypes, because they will do that. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Get familiar with the documentation. This is actually probably 30% of the exam. You knowing how to go through the documentation is really going to make or break your exam experience, because this is the only thing that you can use. I mean, you can use like the Gateway API. They have like in the exam, they have links to go to these sources that you can use. But for instance, if there's a question about assigning a persistent volume claim to a deployment, right? Let's say the question, actually, I could just pull up the question right here. It says, persistent volume already exists and is retained for reuse. Only one PV exists. Create a persistent volume claim, name MariaDB. Um, with these configurations, and you'll apply it and ensure that you use a persistent volume that you already have, and then you mount it onto the deployment. So that's really not that hard. But for instance, in the exam, you'll type in persistent volumes or persistent volume claims. You need to get used you need to get used to actually going through these efficiently. Don't scroll down, right? Don't scroll down like this. When you get to a page and you want to get to a persist into a specific object, um, resource, etc., just Command F. Just Command F, right? If you're on Mac, I think it's Function F. Just Command F and type in PVC, right? Or type in PV, or if it's for deployments, type in deployments, or type in another quick key is that if you get to a page like this and you want something specific and you don't feel like typing, or even if, let's say, for instance, you typed in persistent volume claim and it didn't show up, right? It didn't show up, but you're sure, or you want to double check that it's on this. You can type in API version, right? I'm just copying and pasting right now because I only have one hand. API version. I'm sorry. You will type in kind, right? You'll type in kind, and you'll put in pod. You put in deployment. I know for this one it only has pods, but type in pod or deployment, and it'll bring you right to what you want to see. So, for instance, if I'm for this question, you want to look up how to create a persistent volume claim. You would do kind persistent volume claim. Um, I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna type it, but if you do this as well, it's fast. But really, when you get to the exam environment, zoom out of this so you can show this right hand search bar, this right hand up this right hand column right here, so you can easily pick things. But you want to be familiar with each of these topics. Okay, please, please, please get familiar with these topics, because it will make your exam experience 100 times easier. And one last tip that I'll give you: please read the question twice, all the way through, all the way through. A little bit of transparency. I'm not perfect. I failed the exam the first time, and I know exactly why I failed it. I know exactly why I failed it. I failed it. I failed it because I did not read some of these questions completely. I'm not going to say exactly what I didn't do, but just know you need to read the questions completely. Um, Learn troubleshooting. Uh, that's something that you really need to focus on. It's 30% of your grade. So please focus on that. It's 30% of your grade. I can show you right now. Look at the curriculum. Look, troubleshooting is 30%. 30%. So if you don't even try and attempt to, please attempt every question. But if you don't even attempt the question, the troubleshooting question, you're not going to pass. You're not going to pass. You need to at least know what you're looking for. At least put in some changes, give yourself a chance that they'll give you some points and you'll get above passing. But if you do every other question right and you don't do this troubleshooting at all, you'll get, like, math wise, you might pass because you need a 65 to pass, 66 to pass. So, but you don't want to leave points on the table, right? We don't want to leave points on the table, so you need to go ahead and do that. Um, I think that I'm gonna do a little video series of going through some of these questions if people want me to. I mean, I already passed it, so I can go through it. But some of these questions from this repository right here, I could do it. Just let me know if you want me to, and I can make a little live, and I'll go through each of these questions or 10 of these questions or something like that. Um, but yeah, so thank you for stopping by. Like, comment if you want to. Doesn't really affect me. Just a small guy in this world. Thank you.